Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. As always, I very much appreciate it. I want to start by just every week, just by starting with an overview of what we're doing here. So, as everybody is well aware, the world is in crisis. We have a very serious war on our hands here in Israel, and there's a war in the media, and there's culture war in Europe and in the United States and elsewhere, where there's seemingly some kind of, collapse that's going on in the world, and it can be terrifying, and it interestingly taps right into the religious theology about the coming of the Messiah, right? And so everybody is talking about the end of days and talking about the coming of the Messiah. And even in the secular world, we have people who are talking about a new world order. We're talking about all these different types of, a great transition, all of these different terms about, so regardless of whether a person is religious or not, there's people, a huge segment of the population seems to be, aware that something very, very severe is happening, something very, important, something global is happening. And so we here are learning Kabbalah, and so we're trying to understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish here. So in the Torah, the inner aspect of the Torah is called Kabbalah, and this is a methodology for, the Bal Ha Sulam tells us, for going through this transition. This is a transition that has been talked about and somehow seen, somehow understood by people in the past, that the world was on some kind of evolutionary trajectory and moving towards some kind of shift. And so when we study Kabbalah, Kabbalah is the inner aspect of Torah, so it's part of the Torah, and it's just another language, and it's a language that is much more direct and much more to the point. And the reason for that is that humanity has been on a evolutionary process towards higher consciousness, then we have in the past been, the great masses of people have been less interested and less able to understand what the Torah was saying. So the Torah was written in a way that, depending on where a person is in their consciousness, they would be able to tap into this information and go very slowly learn how to behave until this transition happens, and to actually then do the actual work of going through this transition. That's exactly what's happening. And so when we learn Kabbalah, especially the Kabbalah of the Bal Ha Sulam, which is the most modern and authoritative instruction manual for this, it's a commentary on the Zohar, is the most direct, because it's written for this generation, the generation that we're in now, where the transition is actually upon us. And so, as crazy as this sounds, the Bal Ha Sulam says that there is nothing else going on but this one thing. And the one thing is that the humanity is moving towards a time and place where they will transition from an egoistic, self-centered, individualistic perspective to a collective, unified, balanced, communal perception, right? So what we're talking about does not have to sound overly scientific. It does not have to sound overly religious. What we're talking about is that humanity is going to come to a place where they see no other choice. They see the benefits and the dangers in not moving forward and not going through this transition, this cosmic transition of our consciousness. Now, what are we talking about? This is something that sounds very, very strange, right? So what in fact are we talking about? So look at the United States, okay? The United States and the Western world, we've come to a very, what we thought was a very evolved place. And how did we do that? We came to we came in line with some very basic truths, that a person acts selfishly, that a person acts in their own self-interest. And this is something that is a truism. And when we have the systems that have thrived in the last 150 years are those that at least acknowledge the fact that we are all individuals and we have individual rights and we have a sense of self, and primarily we make decisions based on what's good for us. So the question, the million-dollar question, the billion-dollar question comes: how, if we are people who see ourselves as individuals and we are primarily concerned with our own self-interest, right? When I wake up in the morning, I don't think, what am I going to do for Shlomo this morning? What am I going to do? I think, don't wake up in the morning and say, I have a list of things I want to accomplish for Shlomo today. And I say, I want to go shopping to make sure that Shlomo, I know Shlomo needs new shoes. And then I want to study business law because I know that Shlomo is trying to get an additional degree in business. I don't do that. What I do is I say, what do I need to do to accomplish for myself, right? And this is doesn't mean I'm a bad person. This is our nature. And so it would be foolhardy to think, let's look at communism. Communism is a system, the way that communism is manifest in history, not the future communism that will be a good thing, but the communism that we look back at has been something that's premature. You get people together and you say, I want you to work very hard, and I want you to work very hard for everybody else. And so, as we know, when people are, you're willing to work very hard for other people if they're your family, and if they're your friends, and if they're in your community, and they think like you, and they have the values that you have, you're willing to work to a certain degree and share the fruits of your labor with people who are close to you. But when somebody says, wait, I'm going to work hard, and people who don't like me and don't agree with me and don't dress the way I think people should dress in public, and they don't behave and they don't speak in the way that I think people should speak, then I don't agree to that contract. I'm not willing to work for other people who are not like me. And so the question becomes, how, if what the Torah is saying is that we are going to enter into a place, into a new way of thinking where we can actually think altruistically on a global scale, how is that going to ever happen if we don't have the motivation, if we don't have self-motivation? So, in fact, if you want to hear, if you need a definition of Kabbalah, Kabbalah is a way for us to go through, to find value, to be able to access value, spiritual value, that makes us agree to this contract. So you see, Jewish people are very interested in the law, in contracts, right? If I give you this, what are you going to give me? If I rent from you, what are the terms of the agreement, right? So Jewish people are not people who are partial to doing things that don't make sense for ourselves. So we need to somehow figure out how are we going to harness this energy of self-interest in order to transcend it and come into balance with everybody else. And that's exactly what Kabbalah is. Kabbalah is the methodology of how do we harness some form of energy, some fuel that's out there in the universe that allows us to get value for sharing with other people and for widening the circle of what we're willing to, who we're willing to incorporate into ourselves. Where is that energy going to come from? Where is that power going to come from? And so another way of saying that is that Kabbalah is the study of the revelation of God. And so we don't really understand what God means. We have a outside-in look at God, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to reveal God inside of us. And so that power, that spiritual power that will be revealed within us, will make it worthwhile for us to share and to come out of ourselves and to feel other people. And so this now starts to sound more complicated, and this is where it starts to become a very involved study and methodology of how do we accomplish this. But basically we should understand that the more we reveal God in our lives, the more we are going to be able to come into balance with other people. And this is what we're studying. And so I hope that was clear. I try every time that we start the class to try to say it in the most simple, clear possible way. And hopefully as we move forward, I'll be gifted with better words where we can explain things more and more simply. Okay, let's jump into the book. Chaim, everybody. It is impossible to attain spiritual states without going through states of hiddenness, darkness, and suffering that are preparation for experiencing the light. Okay? It is impossible to attain spiritual states without going through states of hiddenness, darkness, and suffering that are preparations for experiencing the light. Okay, this is a statement that, we're always going to say things over and over again, and this is something that this one sentence, it's from the Hakdama L'Chochma Ha'emes, from the introductory article of the Wisdom of Truth. This is something that we could write a whole entire book upon. Okay, so this is called, we are in the world, in the spiritual language, we're in the world of asiyah, the world of action. And so here, our job, our purpose for being down here, the only reason for being in this low world where we have so much conflict and so much division, is for us to do the work of putting things back together. And so normally in the revealed Torah and in the world at large, when somebody is in the light and somebody is feeling good, that is the state that we want to be in. And even though that's ultimately true, our work is to be in the darkness. Our work is to, so when the Bal Ha Sulam says that the aliyah, the going up, is really the going down, and the yerida, the going down, is really the aliyah, is really going up. And so if we prepare ourselves for the work of the darkness, then we can start to do the work that is outlined in Kabbalah. And so what that means is that when we enter into our dark state, into a problematic state, into a state where we feel either some kind of negative force or we feel that we are stuck somewhere, that is a tremendous opportunity for us to lift ourselves up and to and to transcend these spaces, to do a tikkun. And so even though that doesn't make a lot of sense right now to somebody who's hasn't studied Kabbalah for very long, it is, the more a person studies Kabbalah, the more they'll see the value in being in the state of darkness where God is not revealed, because that is where our opportunity for us to do the work of creation exists. Okay, let's keep moving. All our troubles come from not being connected to God. This disconnection is because God is in a state of loving others, and we love only ourselves. Therefore, the wisdom of Kabbalah contains the solution to all our troubles. The solution is not magic, but rather the difficult spiritual work of self-transformation and transformation of society. Okay? Very good. This is a nice encapsulation of what I tried to say in the introduction. All our troubles come from not being connected to God. This disconnection is because God is in a state of loving others, and we love only ourselves. Therefore, the wisdom of Kabbalah contains the solution to all our troubles. The solution is not magic, but rather the difficult spiritual work of self-transformation and the transformation of society. So here the Bal Ha Sulam is saying something that sounds crazy, and that if somebody said that to you, you would be, in any other situation, you would be, well, you're going to have to prove that to me because that sounds really wrong to me. So if I told you there's no other problem other than the fact that we are stuck inside of our egos, all the problems in the world, all the health issues, all the financial issues, all the wars, all the anxiety, every single problem is rooted in this problem, and this transcending this problem, fixing this issue, is what is going to bring peace to the world and to bring peace and balance to a person and bring love and all of the things that a person hopes for. This is the Bal Ha Sulam is saying, this is the only solution. And the only issue is that a person has to awaken to the desire to do this work. So this is imagine the Bal Ha Sulam was sitting down with Benjamin Franklin or with Freud or with Thoreau or any other of the great philosophers, and they said what they said about the nature of existence. And the Bal Ha Sulam said to him, no, what's going to happen is that the world is on an evolutionary course to transcend their ego and to come into love and balance and unity with everything, and thereby, and at the same time, it's the same thing, reveal godliness in this world. That somehow we're going to go from thinking about God and imagining what God is and wishing to be, to have a revelation of godliness, to a world, a creation, where all these things are self-evident, and everything that's happened in the last 6,000 years of the evolution of human consciousness has been stages along this path. And now here we are at the apex of history. Here we are at the culmination of a 6,000-year journey of human consciousness, and people are coming online and awakening to this. And that's what the Torah is this methodology that has been written in layers for us to slowly develop to get to the point where we see that all the problems are within us, and all the problems have to do with the fact that we are in the aspect of receiving selfishly, and God is a very tricky word, right? Because when we say God, we start to think, of all the things that we heard about God from all the different, from our first grade teachers, and from the bad religious people that were misguided, and from secular and academics in universities who have their own, secular outside-in analysis of what we're talking about. And so all those things have to be thrown out, and we have to understand what we mean by the God and the Creator. And Yud K Vav K is this revelation of godliness that will come to an individual as an awareness that there is a ladder that we can climb to exit our egos, and to, we've said this is going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but we're talking about a double system. Maras HaMachpelah is the cave that Avram Avinu bought. It's a double-level cave. And so what we're going to end up with when we transition into this higher consciousness is our egoistic lives that are balanced with our spiritual lives sitting on top of that. And so this sounds very complicated, but it's not. We will have our individual lives, and we'll have our perception of self, all the things that we have now in the exile, all the things that we have now in our egoistic nature will remain. What will be the difference? So the difference will be that we will feel that we will have our spiritual goals will control our physical goals. In other words, if, let's say, I love pizza, but I want to win the Olympics, I want to win the marathon, I am going to eat just the amount of pizza that I need to win the marathon. So what happened here? I have a physical desire, and then I have a more ephemeral desire. My ephemeral desire of winning this marathon that I want to that I'm entering into, that I'm training for, is a more spiritual goal. It's a less tangible goal. It has to do with honor. It has to do with victory. All the names that we come across in Kabbalah. It has to do with kingship. All of these names that we're going to learn as we study Kabbalah are our inner desires. And so, why does a person want to be victorious? Well, that's a desire that God implanted in us, and it's a gift. It's very beautiful to be victorious, and that's what we want. And so if a person wants to be victorious, they are willing to subjugate their physical desires. They're willing to say, okay, listen, I like pizza, but I'm not going to eat 800 pieces of pizza because I want to win this marathon race, right? So this is what we're talking about, is that first thing, a person has to, it's called a point in the heart, and that this is what's happening to us now individually and collectively. The Bal Ha Sulam explains that we are going to awaken to the truth that there is a way to transcend our ego, to leave Mitzrayim. This is something that is, if you looked at the Bill of Rights and the Constitution of the United States, even though they believe in God, they say, in God we trust, which is an amazing step forward, they still are at a stage in the evolution of consciousness where they say there's no way to escape the ego. Everybody's going to act in their own self-interest. And maybe they're going to be nice to their friends and be nice to their family, and even that's a hard thing to accomplish. But you're now telling me that we're going to come somehow expand the circle of our self-interest and be able to love people who are in a greater capacity and come into balance, and every person is going to, of their own free will and of their own volition, is going to say, you know what, maybe I don't need such a big house. Maybe I don't need to have $1 billion in the bank. Maybe I'm more interested in in peace on earth. Maybe I'm more interested in coming into balance with everybody else. Maybe I want, these are all things that people realize even today that that is a very important thing for us to do. The problem that we keep coming up against is that when a person is very strong and they have some God-given abilities, Elon Musk or all the other billionaires and everybody else that you know who's very successful, what happens is they only have a limited interest in sharing with other people. And so if we were able to grow that desire and give people an opportunity to see that that is a move that is possible, that within the human condition, within the human DNA, there is a way out and above our egos that is going to be beneficial, wildly beneficial to the individual and to the community, and that these are things are truly actually things one and the same, that we'll come to realize that the individual and the collective are one, that I am you and you are me, and all these lofty things that hippies like to say, they're actually true. The question is, how do we accomplish that? And that's what we're studying here, okay? So that's a lot of words, but I hope that made sense, and I hope that some people understand that what we're saying, what the Bal Ha Sulam is saying, is that this generation, right now, this crisis that we're going through is literally the awakening, where people are going to say, they're going to search out, they're going to have an awakening, and they're going to say, there is a way forward, there's a way up and out of our egos. And what's going to happen is people are going to start studying Kabbalah, and they are by the tens of thousands across the globe. And those people are going to be a guide for other people who are going to say, you know what, I want to join in with those people. Those people seem to be doing something. They have a solution. It's not the same old garbage that I'm hearing from politicians and from advertisers, right? I'm hearing something new from these people. And what these people are saying is that we can unify the world, and we can come into balance with people who are very different than us, and we can come into balance with the environment, and we can come into balance within ourselves, that our contradictory natures, that our self-interest and our altruistic interests can come into balance with each other, and we can they can actually complement each other and work in unity to achieve all the things that people have dreamt about throughout history. Okay, moving forward. What is commonly called the revealed Torah is really the hidden Torah, because God is hidden there. What is commonly called the hidden Torah is really the revealed Torah, because we become spiritually refined through it, and God becomes revealed. Okay? I've quoted this many times. This is from the Hakdama L'Chochmas HaEmes, page 151, the introductory article of the Wisdom of Truth, which is another euphemism for Kabbalah. And here we are saying something that is something that, as you learn Kabbalah, you are going to become you're going to see regularly, which is an inversion of what you've been told your whole life. In an inversion, it doesn't mean that the way that you've been told is not true. It just means that there's another way of looking at things. We're looking at things from inside out. We're going through history. And so the first thing we do is we're studying the outside of the Torah. And then we progress through history, or hopefully we learn and learn and learn, and we master the exterior of the Torah. That would be the most ideal version of this trajectory, is that a person masters the external aspects of their behavior and their desires, and they come into balance, at least in their behavior and socially, and they become good citizens and good neighbors, and then they start to learn how to do the work internally. But that's not the way it's going to happen for everybody. Some people are going to come to the inside first, and they'll never engage the outside. That's not really an important conversation now. But here what we're saying is, let me read it one more time. What is commonly called the revealed Torah is really the hidden Torah. Okay, so what is he talking about? What is the Bal Ha Sulam saying here? He's saying that we've experienced history, and people are building a sukkah, and people are shaking a lulav and esrog, and people are keeping Shabbat, and people are, having kosher food and some kosher animals and non-kosher animals, and people have all these rules and laws about behavior, and that is what we've come to experience as the Torah. But we're told that we're in galut, we are in exile, we're missing something. There's an inner aspect to the Torah. And the inner aspect of the Torah is literally the methodology for coming out of your ego, transcending yourself, revealing godliness, which means the spiritual energy of altruism, the light that came off of God during the creation process, and we are going to come into balance and unity, and all these great things are going to happen. But the outside of the Torah, the one that we've accomplished, that the Jewish people have done throughout history, and also people who are not Jewish, the Noahites, people who have kept the laws of the Torah based on their identity. So these people have been doing the secret Torah. Why is it the secret Torah? Because we have no idea how the kosher animals, what keeping kosher has to do with becoming a better person, with transcending your ego. We don't understand the roots of the branches. We're doing the branches. We're doing these exterior rituals, and these are called signs, and we're doing these things that we don't understand. Why, if you burn a red cow, does that somehow have anything to do with revealing godliness in your soul? What's the connection? So this is in Kabbalah, it's explained. And so what the Bal Ha Sulam here is saying is that the exterior Torah that people do is really the hidden Torah. That's really the secret Torah, because I have no idea what it means. It's a secret. I don't know why burning a red cow allows me to enter into the Beit HaMikdash, into the temple. But when you learn Kabbalah, it says, listen, here, this is the map of how you harness your ego in order to climb out of your ego, even while maintaining your physical, material existence. And you actually come into a higher state of physicality where everything makes sense, where things, eating and drinking and all the other pleasures actually work out for a person, because you're in balance with your spiritual self. So your higher desires are subjugating your lower desires, and you're balanced, right? So an athlete is in very good shape. So he wants to win a race, and so he's exercising all day long. And so what's the byproduct of that? Is that he's having a very balanced physical existence. He's eating properly and sleeping properly, and he's exercising properly, and he has a very strong, healthy body that's very, that can do a lot of things. And so that's a good thing that he came into balance. And so a person who's very indulgent and sits on the couch and watches TV and eats pizza all day, although he's indulging in all these physical pleasures, he's miserable. It's not working out for him, right? So we're talking about the missing ingredient to come into balance. And so let's just stick with this analogy. An athlete has a higher reason for taking care of his body. Okay, he wants to win a race, he wants to become famous, he wants to win the $1 million, and he wants everybody to know his name, and he wants to win. But in Kabbalah we learn that there's a hierarchy of desires. The bigger a person's ego gets, and the more a person wants, the more he reveals higher and higher desires, right? So first a person wants to graduate law school and get a good job, and after he gets the job, he wants to become a partner in the law firm, and he wants to buy a mansion. So he trades up from his first house, which had 5 bedrooms, to his Hamptons mansion that has 30 bedrooms. So as a person develops and they go higher and higher, they have higher desires. So the lower desire is food, sex, and shelter, and then comes money and control, and then comes knowledge and wisdom, and then after that comes spiritual desires, and after the spiritual desires becomes God himself. And so that is like a pyramid, that is the hierarchy of desires that a person goes through in the development of human consciousness. That is exactly what we're talking about. And so we're coming to a place where by stick and carrot, a person is realizing that they have to have a higher purpose. They have to find a solution on a higher level of reality. That when you have these higher desires, it becomes possible to balance the lower desires, to subjugate the lower desires in a good way. And so we are now approaching a very special time in the evolution of consciousness in history, where we are awakening to the fact that on the good side and on the bad side, it's really, really good for us to come into balance with each other and with all of nature. We don't want to destroy ourselves in war, and we don't want some people to be dying of famine while other people are driving Rolls Royces. We don't like any of that, and we want clean drinking water for everybody, and we want people to know to come into the balance with the boundaries of their countries, and not to try to take over other countries and all these things, and who owns which country, who belongs where, right? These are all things that we want. And so this system of Kabbalah, as we start to exit our egos and enter into spirituality and reveal these higher levels of consciousness and reveal God, we will be able to put all of these other lower forces into their correct boundaries. I know I'm saying a lot, but we've been at this for like a year now, and so hopefully this is making sense. And sometimes we have to just listen to this over and over and over again. And I read a paragraph today that I read 10 times, and it means I see it in a much more clear way and a higher way, in a way that I never understood before, and it has some kind of effect on me internally. And so as we do this learning and as we do this spiritual work, it's okay to be confused. It's okay to say, I have no idea what this guy's talking about. Everything, it's very good to be in touch with your feelings, how you're responding to this information as we're saying it. And perhaps I'm the wrong teacher and there's a better teacher. There are definitely better Kabbalah teachers, the people that I learned from. They're out there, and people who are watching this class should, who feel compelled by this material, are please invited to seek out other teachers who are masters in Kabbalah. Rabbi Gottlieb is my teacher, and there are others, and so let's just keep moving forward. Okay, making sense? Anybody?
Yeah.
Am I talking too fast?
No.
Okay, very good. L'chaim, l'chaim. The Rebbe said, this is talking about Rav Ashlag, I believe, or it's either Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag or his son, Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag. I'm not sure who they're quoting here. They're quoting the Bal Ha Sulam because it's in the Hakdama, the same Hakdama, okay? The same introductory article. The Rebbe said, the Bal Ha Sulam said, the secret is God. We don't hear God, don't see God, and don't feel God. Yet we say every day in our prayers that God's glory fills the entire world. The world is filled with God, but it is a secret. Okay, let me read it again. The Rebbe said, the secret is God. We don't hear God, don't see God, and don't feel God, yet we say every day in our prayers that God's glory fills the entire world. The world is filled with God, but it is a secret. Okay, sounds absolutely preposterous. Sounds either crazy or silly, right? That people are going around all day and they're talking about God, and somebody comes to you, a secular atheist from Harvard, and he says, you just sound like a backward person, you sound silly, you sound like, not only are you silly and backward, but I find what you're saying to be problematic, and if you just get over that, and we could just stop people from thinking what you're thinking, we could find peace in the world. And so we have a culture clash. And so here is the wisdom of Kabbalah. There is a way to reveal God, and there is a reason why God created the world like this. God had a desire. His desire was to give over pleasure to someone. So God created someone to give something to. So since God is a giver, because he has everything and is everything, which itself is a very complicated thing, something that's beyond our intellect to understand, but we can say it, that God is everything and God has everything, so God has no need to receive from anyone. So when God has a desire to give over, he created someone who is in the aspect of reception. So what's the problem? We said this many times. What's wrong with somebody being in so God has something, he has Ferraris, and he creates somebody who loves Ferraris and gives them Ferraris. What's the problem? There's a problem. The problem is that the person who gets the Ferraris, that's us, all of creation, all of humanity, every single person who's ever lived and every single person who ever will live, has a desire for a Ferrari. But they didn't do anything to deserve the Ferrari, and so God, in his infinite love, wanted to give a better present than that. And so you know that if you have parents and they give you a car, it's fantastic, but it's not the same thing as you buying your own car and you driving down the street and saying, this is my car, I bought it because I worked very hard, right? So God wanted that as part of the gift. And so God said, I want you to work for it. And not only that, but God said, I don't want you to just get from me gifts, right? So if you have a husband or a wife and they're very wealthy and they give you stuff, that's a very nice thing, very lovely thing. But if the things they give you become more important to you than coming close to your spouse, then it becomes poison. The Torah is a portion of death. The Torah is a portion of life. So if we do things in life for the wrong reasons, then we end up in a very bad place. And so what we need to understand is that the gift that God wants to give over is not only the stuff, not only all of the fantastic food and all the wealth and everything that comes from being a human being, a successful person. Not only those are not only the gifts that they should come into balance, and you should actually be able to enjoy your food and not worry about becoming fat or sick. And you should be able to enjoy your money and not worry that you stole it or that somebody else has nothing and you have too much, and that you're scared that people are going to take away your money, right? That's not enjoying the stuff. So let's just say that those things are going to come into balance. That's very nice, but God is not finished with his gifts. That gift is a tiny gift compared to the fact that God wants us to earn those things and to become an individual and to stand on our own 2 feet and become a partner in creation and to work for things. And that's not enough. That's still not enough for God, the gift that God has in mind for us. God wants us to become like him. He wants us to become a creator. He wants us to become a giver. So the entire method of Kabbalah, the entire method that we're studying here, is how do we transition from receiving selfishly, to becoming someone who wants to give, who gets their pleasure from giving. Now that doesn't mean that we stop receiving. There is a feminine aspect and a male aspect, and both of these aspects are part of each individual. A man has a feminine side and a male side. A woman has a male side and a feminine side. We're not talking about men and women as they manifest in the material plane of existence. We're talking about the communal soul. We're talking about Adam Kadmon. We're talking about the unified collective soul of humanity, and in that we have the tree of life, which is Gevura, Chesed and Gevura. We have these different elements that all come into balance with each other. And so we have a feminine side and we have a masculine side. We have a giving side and we have a receiving side. And all of these things come into balance in order to have a relationship. So if I have a wife and I come home and she made me chocolate cake, I don't say, thank you for the chocolate cake. I'm going to take your chocolate cake and I'm going to go watch TV now. I'm going to watch a football game and you can go do whatever you want and I don't really care. That is not a good use of chocolate cake. That is actually poison chocolate cake. That is poison cake that's going to cause us to get fat, and that's chocolate cake that is going to cause us to get sick, God forbid. That is the problem. And the solution is that when I come home, I say to myself, I'm going to eat this chocolate cake as a vehicle to get closer to my wife, right? So I understand that all of the receiving is part of a relationship, and I want to receive and give, and the secret is that we give more than we receive. And so the question is, how do we get there? Because I like to receive more than I like to give. I mean, if I work all day and I make $500, I have no intention of giving somebody else $450. It's just not going to happen. I can't do it. I want, and I have a right to get those things, and I need to get these things. And God created the world, and God created the world the way he made it. And so what do we want from me? Go speak to God. I'm not going to just, what am I going to walk around and just wear rags and not have a right? So we have a problem here. And so that's why the Torah is very sophisticated and takes a long time, right? We believe, my uncle, who's a very big rabbi, Rabbi Yehuda Henkin, there's a lot of Yehudas here, said to me one time, we believe in evolution, not in revolution, right? So we want to do this process slowly with the least amount of harm. We don't want to jump into these things when we have a war and all of a sudden we come into this cataclysmic event where everybody's talking about the apocalypse, where we feel now we're running for our lives from a tsunami of hate and of anguish, and everybody says, now I'm going to change. That is not a effective way. That is not the way of Torah. The way of Torah is called the path of love, and nature is called the path of pain. And so if you are in school, you have an opportunity to move forward of your own free will by carrots. You say, I want to behave in the classroom because I want to get a good mark. I want to learn and I want to get a good mark on the test, and I want to go to a good school, and I want to become a lawyer, and I want to make a lot of money. And so that's a good way to go through school. But if you go through school, you say, I hate these people and I don't think these people are very smart and I really don't care and I don't think I'm going to have a good life anyway, and so I'm just going to make trouble, then you get the stick. And so you evolve, you move through your day by getting into trouble and by being hit with a stick and say, stop talking in class and stop misbehaving and stop not doing your homework and stop failing the test, right? So that is the way that the average person experiences reality, that we end up just moving through life, running away from all of the problems that find us. And that's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is be proactive. And so the way that we become proactive is that we learn why God created the world, and then we learn the map that God laid out for us. That's called in Kabbalah rishimot, which are breadcrumbs that are left in us. So I know I'm going in a lot of directions. I hope this is making sense. So in science, we have evolution. So evolution is the process where we're moving through history and we're moving back and going somewhere, and we don't know where we're going, but we hopefully have some kind of hope that we're moving to a better place, right? So we're evolving through, we're learning, we're getting more and more inventions, and we're getting more and more people are getting clean water, and so we hope we're moving to a good place. But what they don't study in science is the first half of history, which is the process that we study in Kabbalah, which is the simsum, which is the lowering of the worlds, the cascading worlds of consciousness that ended with this material plane, and how that worked. And so in Kabbalah, what we're doing is we are studying how God created the world and how we came from higher worlds where everything was unified and everything was altruistic, and we came down and down, and God was completely revealed, and then we come to lower states of consciousness until we end up to this plane of existence, which is the material plane of existence, where we feel ourselves and we're selfish, right? This is a very good place to be because it allows us to climb the ladder back out and climb up the exact same stages of consciousness that we came down. So the soul broke apart into 6,000 pieces, right? This is called the shattering of the vessels in Kabbalah. And we came down through these worlds of consciousness to this world. And now all we have to do is reverse engineer the process and go back up all these stages from a more selfish, more isolated, more disconnected place, and climb up and become more unified, and we see that this is a process that one way or the other, either by carrot or stick, we're going on that. As I get older, I become more and more aware that if I want to be a happy person, I have to learn how to share, and I have to learn how to make room for other people, and I have to learn how to love other people, and I have to learn how to be balanced, and I have to learn, listen, I come into a party and there's 10 pieces of pizza. I can't, if there's, 9 other people, I can't have 3 pieces of pizza, right? I have to be nice, and I have to come into balance with the people around me, and I can't just take my garbage and throw it into the ocean. It's not fair to the fish, it's not fair to the ocean, it's not fair to everybody else on the planet, right? I want to come into balance, I want to love these people, I want everybody to share with me, and I want to share with them, right? So this is what we're doing. And so the beauty of Torah, and this is something that I think is very, very important to hear, because people are always talking about, there's a lot of different religions and they're all doing the same thing, and so let's not get into a competition about what everybody's doing. But the Torah is a methodology that starts and ends with the complete unification of all of humanity in peace and love and balance. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what your background is, everything comes into this one unified, peaceful, balanced unity where everybody shares with everybody else and everybody cares and everybody knows what's good for them. And so listen, I know that I need to eat 2 pieces of pizza and somebody else needs to eat 10 pieces of pizza. I don't care about that anymore, because I know that if I eat my 2 pieces of pizza, it's going to make my life perfect. It's the exact amount that I need. So I have a house and I know that I'm happy with 3 bedrooms and I'm not happy with 10 bedrooms. I come into synagogue and people say hello to me, and when I go to work, people say hello to me, and when I work in my area of expertise, I get a write-up in the newspaper that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm a good person. That's enough for me. I know that if I become more famous than that, I'm going to start the ego, I'm going to come out of balance. I'm going to start to feel that I am spending too much time on my selfish part of my nature and not enough time on my altruistic part of my nature, and I will self-regulate. I will say to myself, listen, I don't want that, because the payoff, the value of being part of the community and feeling balanced within myself and feeling balanced with my spouse and feeling balanced with my children and my parents and having the whole world work and going to the beach and seeing that there's no garbage in the ocean, those payoffs. And we haven't even spoken about the fact that the revelation of godliness, in other words, the feeling of the light filling and this is something that we don't talk about openly in Kabbalah, but each person has to experience for themselves, but that unbelievably pleasurable experience of feeling that God, through all of his creations, are talking to you and sending you everything that you need and love, and that you feel this kind of communication, this neural net of communication that you feel from coming to you from the entire existence, is this ultimate payoff that we can hardly even articulate. But that's what we're looking, those are the reasons why a person is going to come into balance, and that is the study of Kabbalah. L'chaim, l'chaim. Does that make any kind of sense?
Yeah.
How much time do we have left?
It is 3 minutes to 12:30.
So we went in a whole hour? Oh, wow. Okay, I did not realize. We have a very long class. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. We said a lot. Maybe a person wants to watch the class on, 1.25 speed so that it's a little bit slower, or maybe, stop and start the class as needed. If anybody has, I said so much, and if anybody has any questions, they are definitely invited to reach out to me on YouTube or any other way to communicate with me, and I'll try to answer your questions. And also, I just want to mention that we are going to start a second class where we learn the Hakdama, the introductory article, which is called the Matan Torah, which is the first introductory article that is learned by students of the Bal Ha Sulam. And hopefully that will move people along who are more interested, who are connected to this class and want to continue and move to the second semester.